So thank you very much, Stephanie, for that introduction. And thank everyone for joining us in this virtual press conference. All our persons from the media and anyone else who may be on and joining us, thank you. As your police force, we see this press conference as a part of our commitment to communicate and share information with the media and with our public. This, of course, is in addition to our regular press releases that we put out and the updates that we put on social media and also traditional media, of course. I think an informed public is in much better position to play their necessary part in achieving and increasing public safety, public order, and security, and that's something we all want. Now, 2020 has been a particularly challenging year for the force, certainly as it has been for all Jamaicans. It has created a delay in some of our programs of around probably 6 to 9 months. Fortunately, we'll be able to pick up that and continue them into the new year in 2021. The COVID pandemic impacted the organization in a number of ways. We have had to support, obviously, the initiatives of the Ministry of Health and Wellness, as well as continue our policing activities. At one point, we actually had just upwards of 600 officers who had to be quarantined. Fortunately, for the most part, those members were not positive who were in quarantine. And at the moment, that number has been significantly decreased. I think we only have around 100 persons at this point who are in quarantine, and they will be coming out as soon as they are cleared. The protocols have changed, and we've managed to keep our numbers and bring our numbers significantly down. We've also members have been continuing to practice the COVID-19 protocols that we have put in place in the organization, and that has allowed us to protect not only our own members, but persons who are in our custody and the wider public. Now, it's normal for the JCF to have additional deployments as we approach the Christmas season. However, this year, we'll be doing so earlier than normal. We actually started last weekend. We have scaled back our non-operational activities to provide additional resources, including manpower, to high-violence areas and centers of commerce. This emphasis will continue through to January 2021. And of course, the JDF, who are our key partners, have called out their reserves and also have been deploying additional assets. The crime statistics, which are updated weekly on our website, they're available, but as at November the 30th, I'll just give you briefly what our crime figures are, particularly with respect to major crimes. In the area of murder, we are 25 or 2% below last year. In terms of shootings, we are 16, our shooting incidents, we are 16 up from last year. That's a 1.4% increase. On rape, we are down 79 cases, or 15.5%. For robbery, we are down 199 cases, or 17.7%. And for break-ins, we're down 208, or 18%. Now, these reductions, especially those ones that relate to violent crimes, don't provide much comfort for us, because although they are statistics for us, these numbers represent persons' lives and lives that are being damaged or lost, and families left devastated by these crimes. is in recent weeks there's been an uptick in violence. From our analysis, these fall in three main categories. I'll just briefly speak about them. And the first one is we're seeing an uptick in inter- and intra-gang killings and shootings, especially since as our gang strategy reaps success, we find that gangs, as we incarcerate gang leaders and numbers of members of gangs, the new people fight each other to get dominance of the gang, and this has led to a few killings, especially of gang members. With gangland shootings, though, they're unconcerned about bystanders, and sometimes other people get pulled in. And I'll speak a little bit more about that a little later. We've also seen where these gangland killings and reprisals have extended beyond the actual gang members to members of their families in some cases who get brought into it because of the activities of one member of the family. Now, each division has a proactive investigation unit that targets gangs, while the CTOC anti-gang unit focuses on gangs that are larger and require more specialist targeting. Additionally, a number of joint operations that have led to the capture of gang members and the recovery of weapons have been conducted by Specialized Operations Branch, along with CTOC and the JDF. Over this period, we'll be increasing these targeted operations and covering the spaces and routes that these gangsters use. Some of these activities may cause some inconvenience to the public, as vehicular checkpoints and people checkpoints may create some delay. The second area that we've seen is what has happened in recent times at illegal gatherings and parties. These have been a focal point for shootings and other violent acts. People are aware of the one in Westmoreland. There was one in Brayton, and also an event that took place in Grand Spen. So I think those are the ones that are quite public, even though there have been a few others. Now, what the public may not appreciate, and I think it's important that I bring this to persons' attention, is that under normal application for events under the Noise Abatement Act, it allows police officers to be aware and do background checks on the promoters of these events and also on the venues. And so once approved, the police are able to monitor the event. These illegal gatherings have no such advance notice and therefore are inherently more dangerous. Over this period, from now through to the end of the year and into the new year, we'll be instituting specific measures and response teams to enforce this aspect of the Disaster Risk Management Act and Noise Abatement Act. And this is an area that the public can assist greatly in by advising us through 119 that an event is happening. We also urge persons not to attend such gatherings because the normal safety that us monitoring these events allows is not there. The third category of what we're seeing is broadly referred to as domestic, and we're still seeing the cases where families, persons known to the person who is killed, sometimes intimate partners, or persons who have gained persons' trust are those who are carrying out violent acts against them, some of them resulting in murders. Now, we treat these matters seriously when brought to our attention, and we have domestic violence intervention centers, and just generally, it is a requirement for us and our officers to take these matters seriously. And although we have had a couple of incidents recently that have come to our attention, we respond quickly to those where we have not provided the type of service that is expected to dealing with those cases, and we have a few matters under investigation at the moment. So as we approach the Christmas season, especially with some of the hardships that have been brought about by COVID-19, we know there are mounting concerns about robberies and theft. A number of these cases have been committed in public spaces by persons on motorcycles and to a lesser extent motor cars, but also the persons on foot. That has been a traditional part of large crowds as people try to conduct accusatory crimes. Now, in response to these and this threat, we have special anti-robbery initiatives focusing on the shopping and other commercial areas, including markets, and these are underway. Additionally, overt and covert teams across the divisions will be targeting these motorcyclists as well as other persons seeking to carry out the robberies. Now, despite, as I gave these figures earlier, a 17.7% reduction in robberies, we continue to see cases where businesses that deal with large cash transactions are targeted. And while we increase our anti-robbery efforts, we encourage persons who are moving large sums of cash to utilize the cash escort services offered by private security companies. We also encourage citizens to be aware of their personal safety and your surroundings as you go about your shopping and normal activities. Sometimes we get buried in our phone and not paying attention to what is around us. If you feel, for instance, followed, or if you're driving and you think people are, you're leaving a bank and you feel that people are following you, if you can, just drive to a police station and report it to us that you are feeling this way or that you have seen somebody following you, and we will assist you. You'll also see increased police presence on the roads. We encourage everyone to exercise patience and be courteous as the roads become more congested, which inevitably they will at this time of year. Now, everyone wants to get where they're going, and at this time we'd prefer to do more traffic management over the season to allow everybody to move smoothly to where they're going, as opposed to traffic enforcement. However, for those selfish motorists and those who believe that the Road Traffic Act doesn't apply to them, we will be enforcing vigorously over this period. Now, this is the worst period, I think, that you would have your vehicle impounded or removed. So I really recommend that people take heed of this, exercise a little patience. Everybody wants to get to where they're going. And so it's really important that people take note of this. Now, this is usually a period of celebration with families and friends, a gathering. Now, we know that there's been a reduction in this over a long period, and that may come with certain frustration, but it's all in the interest of keeping all of us safe. The requirements of quarantine as people come into the country need to be observed over the period. We will continue our efforts, and it's unfortunate we've had to take somebody who was actually in breach, who had a warrant out for them, and from the airport as they were leaving, and carry them before the courts. We don't really want to do that, and that's why it's necessary that people comply with these quarantine requirements and other DRMA requirements. It can't be emphasized too much, because we have to go into the new year in an improved way than the rest of, or this year, the 2020 went. Our recovery from COVID as a country, and certainly our part in it as a police force, requires us to have that energy going into the end of the year and into next year, so that we can continue our move towards better public order and crime response results. Sorry. Now, if you're wondering how else you can assist us, or how you can assist us, you can report anything that I've been speaking about that comes to your notice to, of course, our emergency number 119, or call Crime Stop at 311 if you know anything about guns, about gangs, about criminals, or just, you want to assist us by letting us know where something is happening. You have, as I say, 119. You have Crime Stop at 311. If you're observing any public order or traffic breaches, we still have the PSTEB tip line, and that number is 876-591-5671. You can also report if you see anything that involves our own members. You can also report those on the iProbe tip line, and that is 876-838-3084. And we will put these numbers up on our website, and our CCU will be putting out these numbers and re-emphasizing that, so that if you didn't catch them in what I said. So we are really looking for the support of our public over this period, make sensible decisions, keep close to us so that we can keep close to you. As I said, we're scaling down other things at this period so that we can surge. And I know that our partners, the JDF, are doing so also. And that increased resources to the problem should yield results. We're looking for good results going into the new year, and to start the new year in the right way. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think that is my initial contribution. And I think, Stephanie, I think we're going into Q&A period. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, members of the press, for listening and for being on the platform. So, Stephanie.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. So, ladies and gentlemen on the platform and Zoom media practitioners, we're now going to open for a few questions that you may have, whether it's something pertaining to what Commissioner spoke about, clarity. So, I will see who is first up. If you're on, you can raise your hand so we can identify you, or you open your microphone, we'll recognize that you intend to speak. So I'm not seeing a hand. Is that Commissioner? All right, so I recognize Prince Moore from Radio Jamaica. Prince Moore, do you have a question for Commissioner? All right, so we're noted your issue. So as we wait, so you could just mute your mic, Prince, and we will wait for your message in the chat, and we'll ask somebody else who has a question for Commissioner. Remember, just unmute your microphone and we will acknowledge you. All right, so we see your question. Could you provide an update on the killing of a grandmother and 2 girls in Trillights? Okay, stand by.
Okay, thanks for that. Again, you know, that was I think that killing kind of shocked everyone, just the nature of the brutality of it. This 80-plus-year-old lady and the two young girls. So we are following basically two directions in the investigation. But where the investigation is now, and I have one of my senior investigators in the room looking at me to see what I will say. So I don't want to say too much about, only to say that this is not a random event. We're not seeing this as just a home invasion where somebody was trying to commit a robbery or that sort of thing. This is an event that is unfortunate as it is, and as gruesome as it is, it appears from all of what we're seeing so far to be aligned to some activities of a relative. So I don't want to say anything more about it, but as the case progresses, we will update the public on this matter. But as I say, it's not a random act from what we're seeing. Okay, the second question, I'll just read it, is what progress has been made in dismantling the Clansman gang? This gang, we're still active against them. I think 2 members were fatally shot last week. We have, I think, 60 or so members of that gang in custody, and we've been continuing operations against them, and we're looking at particularly their sources of funding. So that is a very active case. Certainly we're looking, my information is that we should be going to a trial, I think, Mr. Joseph, in January. Right, so that gang should be, the trial for the Clansman gang is supposed to happen in January. It's a large case. I think it's a landmark case. It's 60 persons as a gang, as a group, which is a significant impact on the activities of the gang. Of course, this has caused, with the major leaders in custody, some conflict within the gang as people vie for leadership and other spoils. So, but the gang is significantly degraded from where it was. Sorry? Right, I see a question. Sorry, that last question was from Christine Forbes. So I see Prince Moore from Radio Jamaica. I think that's a follow-up question. And it says, could you provide details on Dr. Chang's allegation that there's a gun for hire scheme? I think we can pass the stage where we call that an allegation. It's been present for a while. We've seen that in the underworld for some time, where persons with guns will rent a gun to do a specific crime. So we see that. but we're also seeing a lot of criminals with their own guns as well that they purchase. And some of their money-making activities, scamming particularly, has allowed for a certain democratization of gun ownership in the underworld. And I think this is why it's, as this happens, it's very important, and I know work is being done now, that there are aspects of the Firearms Act that need to be amended to allow more significant consequences of some of the offenses, and also to add additional offenses under the Firearms Act to control this acquisition, the usage, and the carrying of firearms.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. So still looking, do we have any other persons who would like to ask a question? I see a follow-up question from Christine Forbes. And for persons who wants to speak, you just unmute your microphones and you will be identified. So there's a follow-up question from Christine Forbes. What special security measures can we expect in and around the corporate area and the festive season as it approaches?
Okay, okay, thanks, Christine. I mean, pretty much what I had said earlier. You will see higher visibility. We've moved a number of our members who were in non-operational but critical areas or important areas into the operational side. So we're definitely increasing presence. We are focusing, and we have some particular measures that we'll be using and techniques to focus on the motorcyclists who seem to be bent on carrying out robberies in our commercial areas. We'll have significant overt and covert presence in our shopping areas and market districts. So those are some of the things you'll see. Also, you'll see more traffic management as the roads get more congested. And as I had said before, we'd prefer to manage the traffic than have to enforce, but we're quite willing to enforce if people are unwilling to just comply with the rules and regulations. And we'll be doing this through to the new year. Right, I see a question here. Any update on Jasmine Dean's disappearance? Now, unfortunately, no. Well, I'm not sure when last we updated on it, but to this point, we have not found her. We have used significant police assets to try and locate her. We have persons in custody for being associated with the crimes relating to Jasmine Dean. Particularly, we have found persons who had belongings of hers, etc. We do not have we have not found her, whether alive or dead, up to this point. And although those people have been charged, and I think they've been convicted, right? So they're in custody. It will take a year, or just over a year, for us to actually apply additional charges, like the charge of murder, to these persons. So that's where we are with that. As I say, we will continue to reach out, looking for other leads, looking for bits of information. It's not gone cold. In other words, we have not left it as a cold case. We're still working on it. But as I say, we have 2 people in custody that we got into custody pretty quickly, just following up on a number of leads and also using some electronics in that process and so on to find them. But to charge them further will take a little while from the event. Yes, CTOC, that's still part of CTOC's mandate and is still doing it. Sorry, the question is CTOC still carrying out operations to find counterfeit goods? And the answer is yes, yes they are. Christine Forbes, again, from CVM. Can you comment on recent reports of persons being robbed and beaten by persons posing as taxi operators, especially in the corporate area? I can't give you an update on that right now. I don't know. Right. But what we can do is look at that. We've seen the reports. We're really looking at how prevalent it is and so on. So we're doing some work on it, but I'm not going to go further with it at this point, but we'll update on it. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. So do we have any other questions from any of the persons on the platform, whether via chat or so? From all indication, it would appear, Commissioner, that you have answered all the questions. So what we can say is that going forward, you will be having several of these updates coming from the Commissioner or other senior officers in the Jamaica Constabulary Force. So we just want you to pay attention to all the areas that were highlighted, and collectively, as citizens of this country, we can have some safety and security going forward, leading into the festive season and beyond. So just want to remind you that you can follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at Jamaica Constabulary Force, and you can follow us on Twitter at Jamaica Constab. So Commissioner would like to have a parting word. Thank you.
So let me thank everyone for coming on. Again, over this period, I see myself doing this probably a couple of times more, as many times as is necessary, so that we have an informed public. As I say, it's critical, our stakeholder engagement, of which the media is one of those key stakeholders, and also our public, means that we have to make ourselves as accessible and open as possible. So here we are, we're available, and I'll be updating as we go along over this festive season. So thank you very much for coming on and for giving me this platform. Thank you.
Social distancing aims to minimize physical contact between individuals and thereby reduce the possibility for new infections. The government has implemented a number of social distancing methods. These include closure of educational institutions, a reduction in the number of persons allowed at social gatherings, reduction in the number of persons in the workplace, measures for special groups such as the elderly, patients in hospitals, and the prison.